Would you believe that even the smartest CEOs trained in caution are falling for scam these days? One of the CEOs wired $243,000 after hearing his boss's voice on the phone. But here's the terrifying part. The voice he heard was never real.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Earlier this year, we shared a story about the growing epidemic of overseas online scammers.
$222,000 in just 13 minutes. That's how much Tim lost to an international scammer.
It's the scam you're not prepared for. You get a call on your cell from
scammers tricking people into wire transferring their money.
Scammers can now use apps to show up as a trusted number, including the number for your bank.
You think it's a real person, but again, it's a scammer.
It has affected so many New Yorkers that the Attorney General is now taking legal action to try to hold banks accountable.
Imagine you are sitting at your desk, the phone rings, and the voice on the other end is your boss. You have spoken to him many times. Everything is the same. He gives you a simple instruction: wire $243,000 to a trusted supplier. It sounds urgent, so you don't think twice. Within minutes, the money is gone. This isn't a science fiction story. It happened in 2019 to an executive of a UK energy firm. The CEO believed he was following his German parent company's orders. Instead, he was the victim of one of the world's first documented AI voice scams, reported by the Wall Street Journal and confirmed by insurance firm Hermes. The software cloned his boss's voice with shocking accuracy, enough to fool a seasoned executive into wiring away a fortune. If a CEO with years of training in caution could be deceived so easily, what about you?
He was making me feel as if I was worth a person.
That's awful. I really feel for her. And it's such a horrible kind of scam.
In order to understand how scams became this dangerous, we need to go back. Before AI, before deepfakes, before the internet. In Nigeria, during the 1980s, a scam was born that would change the world forever, known as 419 fraud. It was named after the section of the Nigerian Criminal Code dealing with financial crimes. It started with simple letters. The script was almost always the same: a prince, a government official, or a widow claiming they had millions trapped in an account. All they needed was your help and your bank details. However, here is the shocking twist. Those emails and letters were often intentionally filled with spelling mistakes and absurd claims. Why? Because scammers aren't looking for smart skeptics. They were filtering for the most vulnerable, the most gullible, and the ones who would believe anything. By making the scam look ridiculous, they saved time, ensuring only the most exploitable victims responded. It was always a psychological warfare from the start.
Most of us have figured out by now that transferring our life savings into a Nigerian bank account is a mug's game. We know there's no royal fortune, no multi-million-dollar return. In fact, no hope of ever seeing our money again.
By the late 90s and early 2000s, email replaced paper. Internet cafes across Lagos became scam factories. The Nigerian prince became a global joke. But behind the laughter, billions of dollars were being stolen. The FBI reported that by 2018, business email compromise, known as BEC scams, an evolution of 419, had already stolen over $12.5 billion worldwide. Unlike the clumsy Prince emails, these new scams were sophisticated. Hackers broke into real company email systems, studied communication pattern, and then struck with surgical precision. Which brings us to one of the most infamous names in modern fraud, Hushpuppi.
Ooh, you been down.
Raymond Abbas, better known as Hushpuppi, flaunted his lifestyle on Instagram. Private jets, designer clothes, million-dollar watches. To millions, he was living the dream. But behind the filters and flashy cars, Abbas was orchestrating scams of staggering scale. In 2019, Hushpuppi attempted one of the boldest BEC scams in history, targeting a Premier League football club. According to FBI files and UK reporting, he and his team tried to steal nearly $100 million through fake invoices and emails. He also tricked businesses into wiring payments meant for legitimate suppliers, straight into accounts controlled by his network. When the FBI finally arrested him in Dubai, they uncovered emails detailing his scams, fake passports, and network of money launderers moving fortunes through real estate, luxury cars, and even school fees for private institutions.
Knowing that the kind of cybercrime we had in Nigeria in the early days was close to the 419, the latest scams.
The business email compromise seems really sophisticated. And during my career, I've dealt with hundreds of these incidents. The bad guys are able to compromise an email account of a business. Could be a small business, could be a large business, and it involves financial transactions.
Hushpuppi wasn't an anomaly. He was a warning that scams had evolved into global business empire. But if Hushpuppi represented the old world of human-led scams, today we are entering something even darker, AI scam or fraud. In 2020, researchers ranked AI-driven deepfakes as one of the most dangerous uses of artificial intelligence. Why? Because unlike the clumsy Nigerian prince letters, deepfakes are almost impossible to spot. And in early 2024, an employee at engineering giant Arup in Hong Kong was tricked during a fake Zoom meeting where AI-generated deepfakes of executives directed her to transfer more than $25 million to scammers. The money vanished before any trace. Romance scams, which was once slow and emotional, are now powered by AI chatbots that can carry on dozens of intimate conversations at once, convincing lonely victims to send money, gifts, and even cryptocurrencies. An elderly woman in the United States sent thousands of dollars to a scammer posing as a soldier deployed overseas, only to discover that the photos were stolen, a pattern confirmed by FBI and multiple local investigations into romance scams. Fake customer support calls now uses AI voices to sound professional, calm, and trustworthy, while stealing credit card details. And unlike the past, where scams were limited by geography, AI scam can now reach anyone, anywhere, and at any time. With that, scammers no longer need to physically touch money. They launder it through layers, such as real estate investment and often buying properties in cash to hide the origin of their funds. Shell companies registered in offshore tax havens, making their money trail vanish. Cryptocurrency wallet, nearly impossible to trace once the funds are missed, and their tricks are brutal. Fake job offers that lure applicants into handing over personal data. And also, investments came with AI-generated websites, fake testimonies, and fabricated trading dashboards.
We turn now to an inside look at the so-called grandparent scam. Family members targeted with phone calls from fraudsters posing as their loved ones, begging for money immediately to get out of supposed emergencies. Here's ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky.
I knew that was his voice. It just couldn't have been anybody else.
You see, it doesn't end there. Scammers can use your close relatives to scam you. Impersonation scams where criminals pretend to be family members in distress, using AI voices that sound almost identical to your close relatives. If you think you are too smart to be scammed, ask yourself this. If your mother or child or partner called you crying, asking for urgent help, would you pause to analyze if his or her voice was real? In 2021, the FBI revealed that Americans lost over $6.9 billion to scams in a single year. In the UK, losses topped $1.3 billion in 2022. These aren't just numbers, they are lives that have been ruined. Take Stephen Carr, a Canadian man from Ontario. He lost nearly $500,000 to fake crypto exchanges promoted on YouTube. The site looked legitimate, allowed small withdrawals at first, and then demanded liquidation fee before vanishing completely. He was left facing the sale of his home, a textbook example of crypto rug pull. The horror is not just in the money that is lost, it is in the betrayal of trust, the realization that your own judgment can no longer be trusted. You have to understand that scams are no longer side hustles. They are organized, industrial, and increasingly weaponized with technology. The old joke about the Nigerian prince has died is no longer the case. In its place stands a threat so sophisticated that even banks, government, and CEOs have fallen victims. And the shocking truth is, No one is too smart to be scammed anymore. Everyone is a victim. However, the big question is, how do you protect yourself from being scammed? Despite all the tricks being used, there is a good news. Experts say there are always ways to fight back, tools you can use right now to avoid becoming the next victim. First of all, start with a safe word. After living through that nightmare, Robin and Steve made a decision. They created a family safe word, a private phrase only they will know. From now on, if a call like that ever comes again, they will ask for the safe word first. It is a simple tool, but it could be the difference between protection and panic. And also, verify through another channel. If a call or email asks for money, don't act immediately. Hang up and call the person back on a number you've already saved, or message them through an app you always use. Never trust caller ID alone, it can be faked. Limit your voice online. Don't post long voice clips or voice email greetings or videos that can give scammers hours of your speed to copy. Every second of your audio is fuel for a clone. And most importantly, pause when it feels urgent. Scammers create panic on purpose. Act now. Don't tell anyone. If you hear that, it's a cue to stop, breathe and double check. For businesses, experts recommend training staff with fake calls drills, running voice clone tests, and using softwares that can detect AI-generated audio or video. And if something suspicious happens, report it to local law enforcement agencies. Every report keeps track of new tricks and stops future scams. The truth is, the executive who wired $243,000 thought he was talking to his boss. Millions of ordinary people thought they were safe, but they were all wrong. So when the next call, email, or messages comes, will you be ready or will you be the next story?